This is Street Talker with Nancy Tansy Busher. I hope you enjoy our program. I'm speaking now to Gerald Peterson. He's the author of A Right to Bear Arms. What were the founders thinking? Tell us a little bit about your book.
What got me going in the first place was that many people were interpreting the Second Amendment one way, and yet when I read it, it was written a different way, and I wondered why. But the most important question was right on the cover of the book. What were the founders thinking, and what were their fears? Answer that, you have the original intent and meaning of the Second Amendment.
I think a lot of times our hearts get involved, and we want it to read what we want it to read. Now, where are your books available?
They're available at barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com.
And do you have a website?
It's aright2beararms.com.
My name is Geno Spada. I'm the author of Eat Smart, Eat Often, and Eat Small. It's basically a guide to teach people how they should feed their bodies for optimal health and optimal body weight. We market it as a weight loss book, but it really isn't. If you treat your body properly, eat properly the way you should, the body fat just melts away. So it's basically just a guide to eat properly.
So it's a guide just to eating and not a promoter of a lot of heavy exercise.
No. Exercise, if you want to exercise for your health, that's an option. It's always an option. But and being a personal trainer for the last almost 30 years, I would recommend it. But if you eat properly, you don't have to exercise. Exercise is a whole different topic, and why you should exercise and why we're not physical like we used to be years ago. Everything's automated, that type of thing. So anyway, it's mostly the eating part that's addressed in the book.
Okay. And your books are available?
Everywhere online, everywhere. And the website is www.thesosbook.com.
Oh, good title. Very clever. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I've written 2 books. First one was A Black Sheep in the Fold, and this started when I was unemployed for about 8 months. I've always wanted to write, and going through my little crisis, I felt I needed to let a few things out. So I did it on paper, and then I had this published through Publish America. This was done in 2008. The second book I had is Rites of Passage, which is all poetry, and it's really life experiences that I penned. It's based on a lot of different experiences that I've had, personal. It's a lot of romance. It has a lot to do with my faith.
Could we really go into the romance part? I mean, can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
I mean, different relationships that I had and all the ups and downs, basically, that I went through.
Ups and downs in relationships.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I think there's definitely an audience for that.
Thank you. So, and basically how, you go through them and how you actually can survive.
Very nice, Michelle. And where are your books available?
At Amazon, Barnes & Noble, also through Publish America, Borders, bookstores.
And these are all .coms, right?
And these are .coms, yes.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's buying. Everybody reads their news. Everything is online anymore.
What I'm doing now, I've just recently come back from South Africa. All the sales that I have generated, they are going right back. I'm drilling for African wells. And I also do bracelets for missions, which also is a part of the African Oasis Project, which I am a part of.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Michelle. I have just run into Dr. Bob Krepp, the author of 2 award-winning books. Dr. Krepp, tell us a little bit about your book.
These are books written for young children, ages 4 to 8. And the stories in them all have a scientific theme. There's explanations about observations in nature, but also hands-on experiments. For example, in book 1, we make curds and whey. There's a story about a rainbow. Children learn about rainbow and why they see the colors they do. In book 2, which also got an award, as Nancy mentioned, it was published in August of this year and received an award just 2 weeks ago from Mom's Choice Awards. The first story in the book is about clouds. By the way, my method of writing, it's a conversational one. It's not a textbook written in a standard textbook form. It's not that. I have a conversation with my granddaughter, who is 7. She asks me questions, I ask her questions, and we talk. For example, in book 2, a story called Clouds, one day she asked me, where do clouds come from?
It's very good, and I know a little bird told me that you have some like recipes in your book.
Well, in the first book, there's a story for curds and whey salad. This reference was Miss Muffet's Curds and Whey Salad is from the Mother Goose Cookbook, published in 1998 by Gloria Delamar. In the second book, for example, there's a story about hail, and at the end of the story, we have a little recipe on how to make hailstone cookies. So occasionally we do have a little recipe in there.
I thought there was a recipe in there for making goop, slime. Oh, slime. They're whispering over my shoulder.
More of food. I was thinking more of food, but one of the stories is called The Time for Slime in the second book. The recipe for making that and how to do that is in the book.
And you know, I know children. That's the first thing they're going to want to make. Save the cookies for later.
Right.
And tell us now where your books can be found.
They can be acquired from Amazon, and they're available on Kindle. My website is www.lauraandgrandpa.com.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
Here we have Brenda Spalding. Brenda has recently been a guest on Artist Kaleidoscope, in which she talked about ABC, Artisans of Books for Children and Mainstream Authors. But today we're going to talk a little bit about her books. Brenda.
Hello, how are you today, Nancy?
I'm very good, thank you. Tell us a little bit about Hayden's series.
Hayden's series was started as a book for my grandson, whose name is Hayden. I started it as a little joke with a friend of mine, but I'm so competitive that I had to go and get it published and get it into my hot little hands to prove that I can do this. I've actually done 3 books. The first book, he decides he wants to build a bat box on the family farm. The family comes together and they help him achieve his aim. In the back of the book, there's some websites where the kids can go onto the computer to learn more about bats. In book 2, Hayden's Garden, he wants to grow a vegetable garden, but Grandma says it's too much hard work. So he grows pumpkins and sunflowers and sells them to the local farm stand. And then he's got to decide what he does with his money. So that's a little lesson on commerce, and Grandma's going to help him after he gets his money with Christmas presents, because of course, Christmas comes after Halloween. Then we move on to Hayden's Halloween. And in this one, the family is planning the annual Halloween party, and the bats arrive and move into their bat house. They show up in the evening as a special treat for all the guests. The illustrations are so wonderful and colorful. They're done by Jackie Paskey-Gill from Sarasota. I thank her very much for all her work.
Where can your books be found?
My books are available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. They're also in the Muse Galleria in Sarasota, in the Barnes & Noble store in Sarasota, Village Voices in Bradenton, and the Wild Child Gallery in Matlacha.
Thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you, Nancy.
And speaking of Jackie Gill, Jackie, tell us a little bit about your books.
I wrote The Monster in the Basement, which is based on my childhood, about my sister and I being afraid of the basement. My brother actually ends up being the monster in the book, so I decided to write about that. It rhymes. It's just a fun story, not scary. I'm working on a series of 4 seasonal books, and right now I have winter, spring, and summer written. Just finished writing fall. I'm working on the artwork for that, trying to get more time in each day to do all the illustrations.
So, Jackie, tell us where your books are available.
You can get them pretty much any bookstore online. They do sell them at the Muse Gallery in Sarasota, and then if people want to buy them through me directly signed, I also sell them on Etsy.com under Paskey Paintings. That's my shop.
Spell it for us.
It's Paskey, P-A-S-K-E, Paintings, all one word. .com. That's my website, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now we're speaking to Alex Stokas. He is also a member of ABC, Artisans of Books for Children, which is kind of a Sarasota area, but we have members all the way up to Tampa, to the north, Fort Myers to the south. Alex is going to tell us about his titles.
I have Gertrude's Green Hat, which is a story about Gertrude the giraffe and how she has misplaced her hat and she's invited to a party with Samantha Swan. There's a whole bunch of business that goes on with that. That book won first prize in Writer's Digest 21st Annual Self-Publication Award 2013. In addition to that, I have a book called Dancing with Dahlia, the story of my wife's struggle with cancer. Actually, believe the last 4 months of her life, sprinkled with other things. The other half of the book is poetry. I'm basically a poet and a children's writer, and I have other children's books. And I have several poetry books. One is called The Other Side of Light, which deals with the dark side of humanity, war. And the other one is called Lovescapes, which deals with wonderful ideas about life and love and family.
We have another lover in our group, yes. I think our listening audience, they're very interested in the love stuff.
I split that into 4 different categories, family. I have one section called Purrs, which deals with some cats that I owned at one time. I deal with one that says ending, the end of relationships.
Deals with...
The other book I have is for Christmas. It's called The Little Weaver, and it deals with a young girl who happens to live in this town called Bethlehem. She learns how to weave a blanket, and she's bringing the blanket to her father, and the Roman centurion throws it in the mud and steps on it. So it's destroyed, and she brings it to her father, and he happens to own an inn. And the rest of the story is what you think is going to be, and she places the blanket on the baby in the manger, and the entire world lights up in that blanket. And the blanket
how perfect. What a nice story. And the title of that is?
The Little Weaver.
The Little Weaver. He has 4 other books coming out.
Adventures of Alexander and Bippy. Bippy's a little teddy bear.
Oh, okay.
When my son was a little boy, he found a teddy bear that was sucking his thumb, and he said, "Looks just like him." So I wrote a series of stories about this, and this is what's going to happen. I'm trying to get a local illustrator.
We have some. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We have some wonderful authors here. I've been walking around the group. I don't think I've made 1/4 the way around. Gosh, if you're not here at Pine Island Authors Day, you don't even know what you're missing. But I understand they're going to be doing it every year. We will see.